You've heard cash is king, but today I'm here to tell you that's not the case. Actually, content is king and cash is the reward. Stick around today and learn how to create both with our guest, Omar El Takouri. Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christiansen, along with our co-host, Anthony Faso. We just interviewed Omar El Takouri. This guy is a content creator, entrepreneur, and even better, he's a pastor. We had a great conversation. Anthony, what's a takeaway or two that you had?
Oh, man, I don't know how long this is going to be, but it felt like it was 20 minutes. It was great of all the ideas that he shared, particularly for the value of a lot of our listeners are kind of small investors or small business owners. And he shows why the importance of creating content, but also how easy it is. A lot of times we overthink it.
Mm-hmm.
And, one thing we also learned, Omar shared why if he would drive a Hyundai. So that's a story at the end of the podcast that I think you will enjoy. Cam, what takeaways did you have?
Man, I had two big ones. There's a bunch in there for you guys. So you guys are going to love this podcast. The first one was really one of the messages I got from Omar today was the ability to create certain outcomes. And he's talking about using media or using your personal brand to be able to do that. Man, there's a lot of crossover of what we typically talk about on our podcast is because we're trying to create predictable outcomes. And usually we're using different asset classes to be able to create predictable income. So a bunch of crossover there. I love that correlation. The other thing that I really loved what he said was he was talking about wealth, and he gave us a definition as the ability to leverage your time. And he talked about the amount of hours that people are consuming his content on YouTube or other platforms. I really enjoyed what he was talking about there because we often talk about this idea of passive income, but passive income is not quote unquote passive. Typically, it's going to be more leveraged, right? Is we've got to put a certain amount of effort into either acquiring and purchasing and finding these assets to be able to produce the outcome that we're looking for. And so again, man, I hope you guys enjoy this interview. Omar El Takouri, content creator, entrepreneur, and also a pastor. Hope you guys enjoy this episode.
Take care.
If you're an investor or want to be an investor and you're looking to create passive income that exceeds your monthly expenses, then this is the podcast for you. Here on the Infinite Wealth Podcast, we combine the philosophies of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, along with Nelson Nash's infinite banking concept. Omar, hey man, I'm excited to have you here for some of our newbies that may not know what we're talking about today. Give us a little background on what is personal branding. What does that mean?
Yeah, personal brand, which number one, pumped to be here. Excited to have this convo.
Yeah.
Personal brand is a kind of like a buzzword right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we can boil it down to just the word brand, I like to define brand as what are people saying behind your back and what do you make people feel more than the digital aspect of things, which is what I'd love to get into. Like we all have a brand. People have a feeling about us, and with intentionality, we can actually create a predictable feeling people have about us. And being able to do that online is just you can do it on automation. Because if we're talking to business owners, if we're talking to people who are looking to get jobs, the person that gets the opportunity is the person that's most known, liked, and trusted. And by being able to get ahead of the curve and create that know, like, and trust online and on automation is what I help people do.
Now, I would say a majority of our listeners are going to be business owners,
Perfect.
Some investors, maybe real estate or investing in land. How important is brand for somebody like that?
So good. I think it's a non-negotiable for people to consider if you are in business, if opportunity is how you grow, that you should consider building your personal brand. And the reason why is because you guys teach people and you help people to build wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you define what is wealth for me? How do you guys define wealth?
I would say wealth is the ability to do what you want to do.
Great. What about you?
Wealth is, I would say, it's your ability to do good, right?
I love
whether
it.
that's personally or whether that's in a sphere of people around you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I think about wealth, I think about having the ability to do things that stand outside of time.
Yeah.
Right. Like you make investments in things that don't trade time for money necessarily. Right.
Mhm.
You're trading potentially activity for results. I guess the word is leverage. Like
Yeah.
wealth is leverage. Right. And so when I think about video, I think about busy people, business owners. I think about how powerful video can multiply yourself and allow you to be seen at any time in the day. And if you're sharing value, if you're showing what's important to you, people are drawing connections to you and building trust, and you don't have to be in person. It only takes one activity, make the video, and then boom. So just to paint a picture, this is why I like to say content creation is wealth creation. How many hours are in a day? Not a trick question.
24.
24. So on my YouTube channel recently, I got about 1,800 hours of watch time in one day. So 1,800 hours of watch time. If I divide that by 24, that is 75 days. So in one day, I had 75 days of time spent on my brand. Now, that there's a direct correlation to whatever it is I am doing in business and in life. Doors open. I was just telling Art, I was like, bro, you know what my brand has allowed me to do? In a world where everybody's looking for opportunity, I found that I don't have an opportunity problem. Opportunity is actually my biggest problem.
Too many?
Too many opportunities. But it's because people just want to work with others that they trust and like. And so that's what I help people do. That's what I help entrepreneurs do. That's what I help content creators do. And on a financial standpoint, it's allowed me to accelerate my success in business because I can capitalize on the trust I'm building online and the trust I've built and continue to build. And then I also think about what a great retirement plan. Most people retire and they get super bored and they hate their lives.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like by building this thing that builds an audience, and I imagine that when I'm 70 or when I'm 65, I'm going to have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who just want to hear me spit wisdom. Like, what a cool way to end my life. And so I think the end in my, like, I am persuaded that this is one of the greatest things you could spend your time doing. And that's creating content and building your personal brand. And there is no coincidence on seeing the value, because you have the richest people on this planet getting on podcasts and creating content. I think about the two sharks, Robert Herjavec and Mr. Wonderful. They both have YouTube channels. Mr. Wonderful, his YouTube channel is about watches. Robert Herjavec is about personal development. And I think about, even if you want to talk like write off your passions, if you guys are CPAs and stuff.
No. We were both.
You guys were CPAs. Now you're
no.
Just one.
Oh,
listen,
just one of us.
I wouldn't be caught
Just
dead
one
with
of
that.
us.
Why does
acronym I
CPA
have in
trigger you again? Because
Well, it doesn't. It's more of an inside joke
yeah.
between
That's funny.
Cameron and I, and I like to rub it in, and he likes to point it out.
That's funny.
We're kind of like brothers, or more like mentor mentee kind of deal.
Jeez.
So I'd like to give him a hard time.
That's funny. But what's crazy is Mr. Wonderful has a YouTube channel about watches, which his interest in it, now he can write off everything about watches. Like it's a business play for him to be able to pursue his love for watches. How cool would that be? I wish I could write off a watch.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
No, I know, Cameron, you've been trying to find a way to write off the Paul Mitchell products. Like the YouTube channel, or maybe a website.
You do some like men's health thing.
Make
like,
the brand.
Yeah, dude.
I could do a daily vlog of hair care.
Yeah.
Right?
You could be in there like doing your daily routine and then just dropping wisdom.
Yep.
People would watch.
They would. They would.
I mean, it might not be me, but maybe I would.
That's hilarious.
Do you wish you could finance all of your investments with your rewards credit card? Just imagine all the traveling that you could do with those miles.
Well, since they won't accept a credit card for a down payment on a rental property, you can do the next best thing, and you can finance your investments by using the infinite banking concept. And imagine all the traveling you could do with all that tax-free cash flow by just adding one extra step to your investing process.
You can learn more by scheduling a free 15-minute discovery call with Anthony or myself. The link will be in the show notes. And now back to the podcast.
Now, I think a lot of that sounds great,
Yep.
on paper, but then when somebody goes to like turn on that camera, a lot of people do not have the experience of being on camera. Any tips on how they can overcome that?
So good. Yeah. If you want to appear or be more confident when you're creating videos and not freeze up, the first thing I would say is to just simply talk about what you already know. Like, I think some people feel like there's people going to judge them for sharing things that, and the thing is like, if you're trying to show up as somebody you're not, of course you're going to be nervous. But if you just talk about something, how have you been married for 35 years happily? How have you been able to build wealth? What was the biggest lesson you learned from ages 20 to 30 in your 20s? Like, there's these things that you are qualified to talk about because it is your experience. So I would say, number one, just lean on what it is you know. Just talk about what it is you know. The second thing I would say is consider just turning on a camera and not looking into the lens. So like, even right now as we film this, I'm not necessarily making content. I'm just being me. And there just so happens to be a camera on and a mic on. Now I'll just cut up some of these clips and then I'll post them, but I never had to like, quote unquote, take the time to make the video. So sometimes people categorize or like they compartmentalize the idea and the activity of creating videos. And it's like, it's almost like I'm getting on the news, lights, camera, action. But if you do Zoom calls, if people call you and pick your brain, if you just had a camera rolling while you were just like answering questions, you could figure out later, like, then just you could post that type of stuff. And that actually is the stuff that's like resonating because it's real.
We had interviewed, it hasn't dropped yet, but the laundromat girl. And so she owns a laundromat and teaches people how to expand and to buy a laundromat. And she has a video on TikTok that has 10 million views.
That's awesome.
And you know what she's doing? She's counting her money. She just sits there. And I'll say, I even watched the whole thing. It was actually interesting because you see like disorder into order as she's counting the money. And then you're curious how much it is. But here's just something simple. She just turned on the camera doing something that she was already doing.
Yep. I like to say it like, just make your calendar your content. Whatever it is you're doing. You obviously lifted some weights this morning wearing your extra small shirt. No,
it's small. It's not extra small.
but like, if the gym is on your calendar, film yourself at the gym. If your lunch is on your calendar, if onboarding call is on your calendar, if time with the family is on your calendar, like a video that really did really well was I just filmed me and my wife at our Valentine's Day dinner, me handing her my gift that I bought her. I bought her a nice little Cartier watch. And part of that was like, I want to show people that follow me, like how I honor my wife. But the other side is just, I actually want to platform healthy marriage and being an example. So like, but I didn't, again, I just shot it. Like I just rested the phone there and I just pressed record. I handed her the thing and I can even go back to like the biblical reason as to why I even do this type of stuff. I think it's important. The Bible said, Jesus says, you are salt and light of the world. Mm-hmm. Actually, the one time Jesus says, take on an identity of mine is that because Jesus tells his disciples, he says, I am the light of the world. And then he tells the disciples, you are the light of the world. So you're a city on a hill. Like if you are doing good work, let people see your good works. And obviously motive let God judge your motive and your heart.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have pure motives, it is actually I would say my responsibility to put on display what it looks like to be a kingdom entrepreneur. Most people that are doing good work are hiding. And I would say that in a world where evil is celebrated, or in a world where it's, I don't know, that's just going woke and all this stuff, like I would argue the problem isn't that bad people do bad things. The problem is that good people hide.
You
Well
know, it's
said.
interesting you say that, because to be honest, if I do like something good, like you're talking about, I like keeping that private.
Right.
And in part, maybe because I'm not trying to show off.
Right.
I'm just trying to do what I think is right. But
Yeah.
I like how your perspective is to be able to show, we need some good content out there.
100.
There's a lot of,
and like when you say the word show off, I would just reframe, like, you should show off. You should show off how you're building a legacy for your family and creating inheritance for your children's children. You should show off how you're building a life in a way that will allow you to be more impactful because you're getting your time back because you're building wealth. Like, these are things that are so good, and you're doing the heavy lifting of figuring it out and then helping the people. Like, you get access, now you have access to stories and testimonials, and these are things that will only help. And I could see where you're coming from, though, because you're coming from that place of like, you don't want the attention, but that's fine. But when you see social media as a service machine, not a slot machine, is when usually it'll give you more confidence to just share those things. You know, like if you're thinking about like, I'm doing this to help people, not to help myself. So there is like, I think motive is very important in this whole thing, but it's almost like motive, there's no barometer of motive on social media. So this is why you got these bums posting terrible content and misinformation and whatever, you know? And so it's actually, and then on a business standpoint, it actually gives you an advantage because you'll be more refreshing because your spirit and the motive behind how you're sharing what it is you're doing, you know, people can feel that.
I appreciate what you're saying there, right? Is I've always held kind of the personal side pretty close, right? I might put some pictures of kids on social media, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the big things that has changed just in my perspective in business from the last 15 years is when Anthony and I got started, it was how good is your trifold, right? As far as branding and marketing, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
how good is this? This is so great. But now today, what I'm hearing you tell me is that nobody gives a damn about trifold, right? It's about how good of a man are you, right? Or how good are you taking care of your family? That's what people want to see.
Yep.
Is what I'm hearing you say. You've got a pretty good footprint on social media. My understanding is you got over 100,000 followers on Instagram, 100,000 followers on YouTube. Not everybody has that footprint. So is it as easy as just starting to record and posting and showing some of that personal side when someone gets started, or any recommendations for somebody that doesn't have that type of influence or footprint?
Yeah. So great, because what's funny is like followers and subscribers matter least than they ever have before. It's actually the platforms have lowered the playing field, or lowered the threshold of success because it's algorithm based. It's algorithm based more than audience based. Even like, and what I mean by that is like, you can have one video, if you had 100 followers, go crazy viral, and it could change your life. Now, this is why I encourage people, no matter what part of the journey that you're starting out, if you want something to go viral, let it be a piece of content that you'd be proud to go viral. Like I don't twerk trying to go viral, because if I did, it's not going to help my business.
Sure.
And so that's one side, is like knowing that it's not oversaturated, and it actually, if you're new, there is actually opportunity for you. And then the second thing I would say is like, just, especially if you're starting, just upload unedited videos. Unedited. Share, hey, I just got off the phone with this client. This is where they're stuck at, and this is why I told them they should probably consider this loan. If you don't know what this loan is, it's a loan that doesn't account your actual credit score or anything. And most people don't know it's called a DSCR loan or whatever it's called. And so consider that kind of loan when you're looking to buy a property.
On the business side, like there's TikTok, there's YouTube, there's Instagram. Would you prioritize any of those platforms in any way? And if so, why?
I am a fan, especially in the world we live in. I'm a fan of YouTube because in a world where there's just so much, it's so easy to share 3 steps, 1 tip, you know.
Yeah.
If you are in it to really you know, offer a lot, I would actually put your eggs in the YouTube basket. But I actually the format I teach is post 1 long form video on YouTube and then cut up those clips into vertical clips and then upload that on the other platforms, but let YouTube be your focus. That's my recommendation, because if you can build like the viewers I get, like right now, I think there's a stat on YouTube called real-time views, and like any given 2 days, any given 48 hours, it gives you a number of people. And so the last 48 hours has been 11,000 people watching my content, but because my content's an hour long, I'm spending a lot of time with people, and I value like time spent, because when we're talking about brand, we're talking about building trust. Now with the short form stuff, the thing is like test and try all the things. But if you want to just focus on short form, then just be consistent. And if it's applicable to all other platforms, I would say post them on all other platforms, because you never know how it'll take off on another platform. I love Instagram for connection, like, cause the DM feature is like, you can just start a conversation with somebody who sees a clip. Yeah. And they're like, I don't know if there was ever a mechanism before that can like start a real back and forth conversation that quickly with somebody. You know, TikTok, I've heard if you're trying to build your personal brand on TikTok, treat your TikTok profile like your Instagram stories. Okay. Like raw, just talking, like you don't have to try and make a TikTok video for your feed. And that's working really well. Documenting per se. If you have a business or a brand, then you can think of it like a portfolio and actually post, like, call it polished or testimonials or things like that. And then Facebook, I think it's just, I don't like want to create rules around it. My thing is 1 long form a week, 5 short forms a week, and then 2 to 3 times on stories a day.
2 to 3 times on stories a day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which requires no editing. That's just, you're in your car, you have a thought, share the thought, you know, you should reshare another post that resonates with you on your stories, or a meme. People like when you share memes on your stories and stuff like that, people who have the same kind of like humor as you, a connection gets created. And it's like, oh dang, this person has dry humor. Yeah. I vibe with them.
That's me.
Yeah. Zero humor.
You know, Omar, I had the privilege of attending one of your workshops, and where we had a great time to be able to record videos and be able to learn how to create those ideas. I also remember a couple times you were just walking around with your camera, and you were just...
My camera, my phone, yeah.
Yeah, and you were just shooting a story just in the middle of these conversations of showing what you were doing and how easy that was. And as far as the different platforms, YouTube has been, we like YouTube.
I love YouTube.
One thing I like about it, I think it's different than the other platforms. The other platforms, if you create content, I think that the life expectancy,
the shelf life
is really days, maybe weeks if you're lucky. I would tell you our number 1 video is still in our top 5. We recorded it, I think, 4 years ago.
Wow.
But it's still there. And I think that's just a great way you create that content, and the shelf life is a lot longer.
Yep. Which actually gives me, when I say upload a long form piece of content once a week, it should give you peace when a video doesn't perform like you wished it would. Like I uploaded a podcast conversation that was almost an hour and 50 minutes on investing in stocks for beginners. it was a little bit left field for my audience, but I'm so glad that I have an asset like that living on my channel. So if somebody comes into my world and they, you know, like it's there, they could see that, you know? And so my thing is like, you always have the next week's upload to not try and outdo it, but just to be consistent. And yes, over time, you'll have a library of videos. I used to create content. That plaque that's behind you is that gold one. It's for getting 1 million subscribers. And I was creating content for a YouTube channel called Think Media, where I was making educational content. And the crazy thing is I know I stopped creating content for them a year ago. Literally last February, I uploaded my last video. I just looked. When I uploaded that video, it got a couple thousand views. I just looked on my last video. It has 350,000 views. So like, you get views while you snooze because YouTube's shelf life, you know? And I can't think of a better use of time than to create YouTube videos because of that nature.
Now, with YouTube, you have the ability to monetize it. But I would say one hesitation we had is we want people, we're not looking to monetize YouTube. We're looking to eventually create clients.
Yep.
So we're hesitant to really place ads in there that might disrupt the flow. What are your thoughts on that?
Great question. I believe there's a difference between being monetized on YouTube and monetizing your YouTube. So being monetized on YouTube is allowing Google to pay you, you know, for every 1,000 views. It's called CPM, cost per milli, is for every 1,000 views, Google will pay you a certain amount. Now, I love this because last year we made about $60,000 on YouTube from Google, and that's $60,000 we got paid to find more customers. That's the way I see it. Whereas we're in a world where like some people are paying to make their business run. Like I'm getting paid to make my business run, and it's building my brand. Now I don't believe that by turning off monetization that it's going to, you know, prevent somebody from working with you. I mean, that's just, I actually think having monetization on your videos will only influence YouTube to promote you, because that's how YouTube's getting comped, I guess, for your efforts. And so I would turn on monetization. My thing is I would make that next step off your videos very clear, whatever it is. And I think with you guys, you can have a couple things like you can sponsor your podcast with a resource that'll get people the resource and you'll get their information for it. I turned on a wait list for the month of November and December, and I got 840 leads. I didn't even have anything to sell.
Wow.
But I got 800 names, phone numbers, and emails just because it's in my videos. Like, hey, if you're looking to get help with this stuff. So then how you take it from there, that's on like, you know, now we're entering the sales process. But I say all that to say, I would still sponsor your own video. Talk about the thing, talk about the next step, talk about where people are at and how you're helping them. And, you know,
that's one of the many things we don't do. I mean, we just like creating content, and I don't know, there's something that we do need to be more active in.
It's as simple as this: pre-film a short 30-second ad read, and that's it. Just throw it in the middle of the edit, and preferably around the 8 to 10 minute mark.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm hearing a couple things, or at least I heard a couple things. One is you mentioned, I don't know if it's on camera, you mentioned Robert Herjavec has a podcast that he talks about watches. And then you mentioned that you threw a video in there that was kind of out in left field for your audience. How important is it to kind of stay in your lane? Can you vary much, or do you need to stay on topic?
I think that is like an intuition thing. I definitely think when starting out, you want to be very clear about what it is you're trying to help people with. For Mr. Wonderful, who does the watches.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
It's usually always watch content, but if he uploads like advice from a billionaire, there is a little bit, and he's also built the foundation to do that. So like for me, I provide very high value content on my YouTube channel about personal branding, online business, sales, communication, content creation and things like that. And then, because it's my YouTube channel, And I have an intention with it. I uploaded a video that was specifically for Christian business owners. And they didn't perform so good, and that's fine. Sometimes there are plays where it's intended for you to go wide. Other times there are plays for you to go deep. And if you know what you're doing before that, it feels you don't get disappointed.
Mhm.
Like I don't get disappointed when something doesn't work well. I actually am like, okay, the people that watched it and engaged with it, I just went a little bit deeper with them. And that's the goal. It's wide and deep. And so I would say starting out, you do want to be a little bit clear and then find your footing. And then over time, you could, what I like to call branch out. It's like, because then people care. You've earned the right to share people about something you care about that they currently don't.
I think that I know that video that you're talking about, and it really hit home to me. And one of the things I believe you talked about, and I'd like for you to expand, is one of the things I think we have when you're a faithful person is like building wealth kind of seems to be frowned upon, that we should be doing other things. And so there's always that balance. How much is enough, or where is that balance in building wealth and serving others?
That's really good. I think first, I will say that a lot of the times the church upbringing, it's money is kind of taboo. It's easier to ask to give money, and it's weirder to teach your congregation how to make more money. But we want them to give more money.
Yeah.
So but I kind of, my revelation for wealth and abundance really just comes from the heart of the Father, right? Like, do you want your kids to prosper?
Yeah.
More than you. Like, I want Ruby and Russell to make more money than I ever made. This is why I'm doing everything I can so that they can have abundance. So why wouldn't that be the heart of God for us? Now, it's because people, number one, they believe being poor means you're more holy. Number two, they read the scripture wrong. When Jesus was doing was talking about he was saying,
the needle,
the love of money. The love of money is the root of all evil. But people will say money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
No, money is an incredible tool that can help advance the kingdom of God. It's actually required. So if it's required, then we should probably learn how to make more of it. And if we need to make more of it, let's just look at how God, put things into place on how to do that. And then you just see all through scripture that he who is skilled in his work will sit amongst kings. King Solomon got paid, I believe, $330 billion from Queen Sheba for just consultation, just to be consulted on her country. We see that God's given us the ability, Deuteronomy, to create wealth or to get wealth. And I actually believe that it's not abundance isn't something we have to go and grab. It's just something we need to be more aware of. And there are some principles in place. Now, Jesus talked about money a lot. And one of the things he talked about was money being your master. You can't serve two masters. Mm-hmm. And something I have found, because it all comes down to the person and where your heart is. Mm-hmm. But I've seen people who don't have money who is mastered by their lack. You think about every dime. You think that's money controlling you. And then people who have abundance, I see money doesn't rule me because I have so much of it. It doesn't matter. Obviously I'm a good steward and God has entrusted me with what I have. But a good tell that money isn't my master is that I actually have a lot of it because I put my money to work. Right? And that's exactly the parable of the talents. Mm-hmm. Jesus talks about how there are 3 guys. One got 1 talent, the other got 2, and the other got 5. And each one got according to their ability. So the person that got 1 only got 1 because of their ability. The person that got 5 because of their ability, according to their ability. And then it says, as soon as they got it, at once they went and invested it and they doubled it. And then once they come back, the master says, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a little. I will now make you ruler over much. The person that got the 1, immediately they dug it in the ground. They did nothing with it. They saved it. They didn't spend it. They didn't lose it. And then the master says, "You wicked and lazy servant." Like, imagine getting that from like God. Like, you did nothing. You are wicked and lazy. My goodness. And go give the 1 you have to the one with 10. Because the one with 10 will make more with the 11. So it's a stewardship thing. Like, it really is. It just comes down to who you are when God's given you the resource. Like, what we have is simply a result of what we are, entrusted with. Like, we have what we have because of our skill level. We have what we have because of our wisdom. We have what we have because of our ability. And so I have found that God wants us to have more. He's actually already given us the more. We just aren't in the position to receive it. And I find blessing to not be something you go and get more than it is something you get under. Like, blessing's already flowing. We're just not under it. And this is why I love, like, my coach, Myron Golden. He showed me this. He's like, dude, no one's lacking anything. Like, or nothing's missing from people. Everything you're supposed to have, you have. What the issue is, though, is our awareness. It's not that we lack abundance. We lack awareness to the abundance. And this is why you see people make so much money and it looks effortless. And you see people be poor and it looks effortless. And so something he says is like, success and failure are both automatic. No one's trying to fail.
Yeah.
And no one's trying to be successful. They just is. They just are, you know? And so it really just comes down to what you believe about the thing. And this is where I do feel a little bit of a burden to help Christian entrepreneurs not only become the greatest version or option for the world to be used for your products and services, but to charge the most because you're the greatest. Jesus says the way you become the greatest is by being the greatest servant. So, like, get down, listen to the people, listen to their pains, listen to their problems, and help them. People have no problem paying with other people for speed and like alleviate pain. Like, just be the best at it. Easier said than done, but it is a decision. Like, I believe I'm the best at what I do. Like, you guys feel that. Probably people see that, but I have a conviction that if I'm going to do this and I'm going to teach people this stuff, I got to lead by example. How can I expect somebody to pay me $25,000 if I myself can't even invest in myself at a high level? Like, that's a phony. I don't know. Now I'm just ranting.
No, this is some great stuff.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you, right? As Anthony and I talk about this all the time, is we do quarterly, we do annually meetings, and we talk about what our goal and our intention is. And one of our stated goals is to be the best IBC practitioners in the country, right? And that's what we're striving towards. But sometimes saying that publicly, again, right, is a little bit, there's some hesitation there. But again, I think it's coming from that confidence of, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do, right? There's some of our colleagues have charged for a lot of the services that we provide for free, right? And so we go back and forth on that, right? We're like, man, are we missing out here? But again, maybe we are, I don't know. But we're trying to provide as much value to our clients, and especially on the education side is we want to make sure that it's organized and we're giving value to them. So, man, you got us thinking about kind of our process.
Yeah. I mean, I think when it comes to like charging, I find that is dependent on the people you feel called to serve, right? I have made a conscious decision that I am going to be a premium coach for premium people, as opposed to a coach to the consumer. Yeah. And part of that is simply I value my time, and it's a less is more strategy. But when I see when I see other people do what I do or do something very normal and charge a premium, it makes me feel a certain way. Like, why do they get to charge that much? You know. But really, it comes down to the words you use and the people you're attracting and the clients you want to serve. I have a friend who's a CPA, and his tax service is $30,000 a year. And they get, I don't know, they do these challenges. I do the challenge, but they do these challenges. They make $1 million a challenge, $2 million a challenge. They do like 8 of them a year. They're doing $10 million as a CPA. Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, that's
yeah. But how are they able to do that? They're able to do that because they are really good at marketing. And then it's also the way they package their service. They package their service as a program. So it's like, we're not just going to take care of it. We're going to show you the strategies. You're not just going to get the strategies. You're going to get access to the calls, and you can ask questions weekly. You're not just going to get the questions. You're going to get the spreadsheets. You're going to get like, and then here's the other thing. If we don't save you $30,000 by the year's time, we'll give you your money back. So, I mean,
pretty good.
They were able to
turn around.
And I think many of us need to find how. I don't think we need to force a guarantee, but we need to find out how we can guarantee certain things, not necessarily outcomes.
Yeah.
Guarantee other things like the information you'll learn will enable you to do certain things, and even just the community, access to the community. Like sometimes the number is just a filter. Like if you're tired of working with people that don't listen to you guys, it's because they're not paying enough. You charge more, you get more attention. The Bible says where your treasure is, there your heart is also. So sometimes you spend hours on the phone with somebody and then you have the same conversation a month from now and they did nothing. They didn't do anything because it didn't cost them anything. And so that's when it's like a good indicator. It's like, not only am I tired of working with people that don't want to implement, I'm also like, I value my time too much. It's like, I'm actually wasting my time. So now it's a stewardship conversation when it comes about charging. It's like, my barber charges $130 for a fade. What constitutes his ability to be able to do that? Number one, I believe he's the greatest barber in town, and he means business. He's not messing around while he's giving you a fade and shooting the shiz, talking about everybody, talking about LeBron and Kobe and Michael Jordan, like none of that. Yeah. It's just like, just die. Hey, how much time do I have? He's cut my hair in 10 minutes and he's cut my hair an hour. I just get to decide that, but I think a lot of times like money is just a filter, and sometimes it's like an indication to raise your prices is simply to get people more serious. The amount of people that ask for my help, and I gladly am glad, especially people in my world, especially the people at my church. Hey, Pastor O, can I pick your brain? I hate that phrase. Hey, Pastor O, can I ask you something? What do you think about this? And I'm all ears. Like, come on. They don't do anything with what I tell them because it didn't cost them anything. So like, I joined Myron's program, $55,000 2 years in a row. So bro got $110K from me. And did Myron tell me something that isn't already on his YouTube channel?
Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
But am I more bought into what he's sharing? Therefore, it actually is working for me? Yeah. So that's my thing when it comes to like pricing and stuff.
Cameron, I think we are missing out because there's other competitors that are not charging. However, like you talked about, it's all who we want to serve. Mm-hmm. And personally, for me, I feel like my highest client, our largest client, we are helping him expand wealth, but he's already a multimillionaire. Like, to be honest, I don't think we're impacting his life, but the single mom, right, who doesn't have advice, doesn't know where to go, I think we have the ability to change her life because she probably doesn't have enough death benefit.
Yep.
And she doesn't know where to go. She needs some hand holding, and there really isn't a resource there for the single parent.
So I would say it like this: if there is a way to help a person that is taking a lot of time from you, I would just figure out a way to automate that. And you can do that by creating a mini course. Like if there is predictable information that you can strategically and in an organized fashion, be like, hey, go through these 10 videos. And then once you do it all, then book the call. Now the conversation we're having is different.
Yeah.
You know what? On that note, I think we're going to bring this up in our next quarterly meeting. So if you're on the fence about infinite banking, and now is the time to schedule a discovery call with us, because we are currently not charging.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm about to book one right now.
So the link will be in the show notes.
Book a discovery call ASAP, bro.
Get a call us and we can talk about, is infinite banking for you, or if it's not. But now would be the time to do it before we start.
Yeah.
Before we start
And
charging.
I mean, another thing you can do, like what comes to mind is you guys should have an assessment if you don't already. Like instead of booking a call, which, you know, book the call, but have an assessment, or you can use typeform.com. Like they already have probably money assessments, and you just make it yours. And then it kicks it out and says, hey, this is where you're at, and here are 3 things we would encourage you to do. And one of those 3 things could be book a call, right? Like, but it also is serving a person because they're able to get some help, and it costs you nothing, and then you get their information. And then somebody else can actually follow up with them. Yeah. How would you get me started on my infinite wealth path journey? I'm trying to infinite bank my life.
Well, we should have another call, but really what we need to discuss is really what we focus on is, what are your goals? Really, what are you trying to accomplish?
Bro, I want to make 150K passive.
Okay.
As fast as possible. And I'm willing to make as much money as I need to as fast as possible to make that happen. Okay.
Well, what we would say, infinite banking will allow you to get there faster and with more certainty.
Yeah, great. I need certainty. Because right now in my mind, I'm like, I need $3 million invested in the market.
Why do you need $3 million invested in the market?
Because like 4%, 5% of that is like 150.
So why do you need 150? What is 150 to you?
150 is, I'm an idiot if we can't just like live. And I'm not even trying to hang up the, I'm like, it's just a number in my mind that's like, I feel like I could live off 150 to 200 for the rest of my life.
You know, I think that might be your monthly expenses, right? And kind of what you're trying to do is create your passive income, money that you're working, not exchanging your time for money, but your money making money, that being more than your monthly expensive. That's where we have true financial freedom, where you do what you want because you want, not because you have to. And I would say there's a lot of opportunity where I feel that you could earn a higher return and safer than in the stock market. I mean, you listen to our podcast, all the different opportunities, like, you know, where it start flipping raw land or starting a vending machine business, which my son started and he's killing it.
No way.
He's making over $4,000 a month.
That's fire.
It's not quite passive, but eventually, you know, it will be passive. Or a lot of these investments out there that are earning double digits that are backed by real estate. But part of what you need to do is become educated.
Yep.
And while you're doing that, the important thing is to get your money in order, where it's safe and liquid, so you have that opportunity. Because just like you said, and Nelson Nash had said this in the book Becoming Your Own Banker, if you have enough cash, opportunities will find you. So you've mentioned these opportunities are just coming out at you. What you need is a filter to determine the right ones, and making sure your money is in place so you can take advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah, that's good. All right, I'll book a call.
Okay, good. Well, good. We got that note. Let's get back to some of the questions that can help our listeners here. And this was something that I struggled with. We have our like business brand, and then we have my personal brand. So like on Instagram, would you recommend some of these people, do they do this content on their personal brand, or do they do it under more of a business brand?
That's really good. So right now, I think the way you want to distinguish the two is, if your business brand, let it be the portfolio. I would post testimonials on there. I would post like super strategic tips, like just, and it's just like, let your brand or business account let people know that you like are doing the thing. I think the personal brand side of things, especially if you're doing both approaches, is it's kind of like the behind the scenes to the brand. You're just putting a face to the brand. And so it doesn't need to be so polished. This is why the personal brand thing doesn't need to be so polished, because the point is just to give the brand online a pulse that there's humans behind this thing. And yeah, I mean, when I think about Elon Musk is the face behind Tesla, and he's able to pre-sell a car that isn't even made and make and get a $150 million or $1 billion loan to make these cars, while people, Ford's selling one car at a time, And so I think the biggest difference is brand. That's like literally it. I don't know who on Ford could turn on a camera at Ford or Toyota or whatever and just be like, yo, we dropping this whistle. Tesla got they sold out on a whistle, and they also got a little moped sold out. It doesn't matter. And I think that's, I don't like people to get so into the nitty gritty, because it really doesn't matter. Once you have trust, how much people want to buy my hat? I don't sell them. I get DMs every day. Omar, can I buy your hat? No. Why do you want to buy my hat? Because I made you feel like buying a hat. Which, if there's any reason why a person buys anything, the only reason is because they felt like it. And so the goal is to get people to feel like buying from you. And so you guys are talking about kind of my outfit right now. It's like, dude, you always got the fit going on. I want to create a feeling in people that they want to do business with me. I spoke at a college last week in LA. It was really cool, career week, and they had me come and speak. And I wore a nice leather jacket. I looked really cool because I want these students to wonder, what the heck does this guy do? I don't know what he does, but whatever he does is cool. I don't even letting people have these conversations in their head before I open up my mouth is that is brand, right? So I say all that to say, to answer your strategic question, just let the business thing be the testimonials and all that stuff, and then let your personal be the behind the scenes to that.
Well, talking about your brand, that hat is your brand.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I saw you without the hat, I almost didn't recognize you. We were at the Wealthy Kingdom event, and you were on stage, and I was like, is that Omar? I'm like, well, he has the fancy shoes and the nice jacket. That is Omar.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Omar, we talk often about, hey, if you want to get somewhere, well, we talked about it today, right? If you want to get somewhere and you want to get somewhere fast, is find a mentor, somebody that's there. If somebody's listening to the podcast today and they want to get maybe a heads up or a start on accelerating their personal brand and making a footprint, man, where can they go? What opportunities do you have for them?
I do these events online every other month or so called the Content to Cash Challenge. It's essentially 5 days of coaching for $200. It's insane. So I would say that would be the best route. And I'll give you a link and you guys can put it in the description and stuff.
Perfect.
And
Perfect.
$200, 5 days of coaching.
$200, 5 days of coaching. Anthony also mentioned the content mastery class that we went to.
Yeah.
Who would that be for?
Yeah. I mean, I think if you want like immediate fast results, this and for this, you could DM me about it. It's not cheap. It's $7,500. It might be 10 grand by the time people listen to this, but it's a 2-day experience, and I would call it an accelerator, because not only are you going to learn the stuff in day 1, day 2 after we film and shoot the stuff, because I found it it's like exposure therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you guys got exposed to the process of creating, and you were probably more surprised that this was fairly simple. Mm-hmm. In my head, I thought it was so much more, right? Mm-hmm. And then because it appeared more simple to you, you then took action and got your own setup at the house. But the inaction was simply because somewhere in our brain, we think there's a wall, or something is beyond our ability to, or you just think it's hard because it's unknown.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the unknown, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's afraid that, hey, it's actually bigger than it is, but in reality, it's pretty simple, right?
Yeah,
you take
so
that first step.
I unapologetically say you will pay me $10,000 for the ability to take action. And then, I've gotten really cool stories about people who, of the content that was shot at the workshop, they've gone viral and they've brought in people's leads, even though I don't even want that to be the number one goal. It's just a byproduct sometimes, which is really cool to hear.
Well, what was very different about that is we not only did we shoot some video, and helped me get over the obstacle of being able to create content. you created some great content with some great equipment and edited. And I don't like, if you look at you scroll down our Instagram feed, you can tell the videos that were shot on that weekend.
Yeah.
And the ones that were we just taken clips from our podcast. Omar, one thing I was curious about, speaking about brand, came to my attention that you felt you were a little too bougie to drive a Hyundai.
I mean,
I was planning on cutting that out. I was just throwing that out.
No, it's funny because like I am a practical guy. Like I am Dave Ramsey to the max. But then I also disagree with some of the, the leveraging debt. I'm not an idiot. Like Dave, you don't have to call me stupid.
Yeah.
But no, I see the benefit. So here's what I'm learning more and more, that you can make your money work for you. And the clothes we wear could be my money going to work for me. The accessories we wear, like sometimes the watch I wear, like I have a couple Rolexes, and those usually they're like a filter. My watch is going to work for me. It's a tool, right? And so right now I'm in like a predicament because we have 2 paid off cars, and my wife drives a 2013 paid off Camry. I have a 2019 paid off Audi e-tron, but it like broke my heart when I had to pay off the car to get into our house that we're in.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And the car has depreciated. I bought it for like 70, 75 in like 2022, 2021. The car's worth $20,000. Like, what the heck are we talking about? I owed 40 though. So it like stung a little bit,
Yeah, of course.
Now that was the first nice car I've ever had in my life, and I love it. It's great. It's a great car. My friend who has a Lamborghini Urus, who he bought it in 2022 for like $220. He just bought an Aston Martin, and he just was considering how much they would pay him for the trade-in for his Lambo. They said $180. We'll give you $180, or you could sell it to private party for $190. I'm like, he got paid more money to drive a Urus than I did to drive a e-tron. So, and because he shows it off and stuff, and like I say, show it off as in he uses it as a tool to show the fruits of his labor. There's like, again, like you want people to wonder, what does this person do? That is a powerful thought. And so anyway, that's why I'm struggling with the Hyundai purchase.
Well, just give a little context. I don't know. I didn't mean for this to be in the podcast.
No,
maybe it will be. But just a little backstory is I got the new Hyundai,
which is super
Santa
fresh.
Fe.
It looks like a Range Rover.
It does. And honestly, I had difficulty, to be honest, as it's a Hyundai.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at that brand, but then again, I look at the Hummer, the Range Rover, even a Maserati. I think I'm the only one who went to a Maserati dealer and then right to Hyundai. But again, it's liability.
Right.
We often talk about, you want to build wealth, you need to spend your money on assets, not liabilities. And the car is a liability. But on the other side, there is a certain level of expectation. People do judge you
100.
On the car.
It's actually, the Bible says, men look at the outward, but God looks at the heart. And a lot of times preachers preach like, man, God just looks at the heart. But like, don't overlook the first line. Men look at the outward. So there's something called human nature, and you can use human nature to your advantage, or you can use it to your disadvantage and then wonder why life is hard. But if you understand how humans function and think and process, and you can use it to your advantage. Like it's even in the realm of content, just to bring it back to content, it's like, if I say things the way people think it, they're more likely to listen to me. This is why like I'm a word snob when it comes to like the words you use in your business, in your marketing, in your messaging. Like if infinite wealth, like that's a word picture. Like when you hear that phrase, your brain just starts, it like actually, like my brain actually draws the little 8 sideways, and it's like I have an unlimited source of money I can just pull from. That's what my brain does when I read that word, which is like, it's really cool that like your guys' business is called that.
Well, and that's part of it's infinite, because if this is done correctly, we have infinite wealth for multiple generations.
Right.
Because we're going to teach, not only because we're using life insurance, but also we're teaching the next generation how to use money, and this money just continues to flow and infinitely grow with as our family grows.
Yeah. Do you still wish you bought a cool car? Or are you happy with it?
First of all, I bought a cool car, and I would tell you, to be honest,
I know it is loaded.
I'm very happy with
Omar
it.
is not convinced. Omar is not convinced.
No, I'm
just-
very happy with
that's
it.
cool,
I mean,
yeah.
just yeah. But I'm not a car guy. I don't really.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, cars don't really drive me. But dude, I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
But I will.
I'll
I mean, I
consider it.
didn't. Even as soon as I bought it, I took all of the Hyundai.
Yeah.
I took everything off.
Yeah.
You know.
You did come in the office for about 2 weeks telling me you were thinking about getting a Hyundai, but man, it took a while to get you to that point.
Yeah.
Pulling the trigger.
You know, in part, we're talking about brand and how people perceive you. I don't know if you've
really good, yeah.
heard the book Dress for Success, but it's something I read in college. And one example, little case study they did is they found that people who are high income earners wore more of the brown beige trench coat or raincoat,
Wow.
and people more of the middle class and lower class wore black. And what they did is they went into a building and they had somebody wearing a beige raincoat, and he would time it and approach the door at the same time.
Mm.
And they would log on the individual. Did they cut in front of them or did they yield? And when people wore the brown trench coat, people were more apt to yield. And then they did the same thing with the same person, but they were just wearing a black trench coat. And they actually had to stop the test because he kept on getting threatened because they were not yielding
That's
to
crazy.
the one with the perceive. And that always
That's huge.
stuck in my mind, that people do perceive. And if we're in a brand, people are seeing something real quick.
Yeah.
And like you said, men are going to look on the outside.
Yeah. When you pull up to Red Rock Casino in your Hyundai and the valet, they're going to park it in the garage. But if you pulled up in a Lambo, they're going to leave it out front.
It's going up front. It's
Yeah.
going up
Yeah.
front.
There you go. And it just bought you back your time. Buy back your time. Dan Martell. Let's go.
Omar,
Or I could buy a Hyundai and 4 rental properties
And then
that will
that's
produce
the real-
cash flow
And that's the
to
real
pay
flex.
for my payment.
And that's the game right there. Yeah, I need that delayed gratification.
Omar, I feel led to share this with you. Is that you mentioned a couple of things, kind of your situation. You mentioned the 3 million because you wanted 150, but you also mentioned human nature. And I've been in this industry for almost 15, 16 years now. And one of the things I've noticed is that when I meet with somebody that is 60-ish, and they're approaching retirement, and let's say they have 3 million in the market, their level of stress is through the roof, right? And as they approach retirement, that stress only goes up. When they enter retirement, it is at an all-time high because they're subject to the market.
Wow.
And their focus and attention is consumed by what the market is doing. And I've seen that time and time again. One of the lessons that I want to share, just the story, the point of this is that one of my favorite parts of doing what we do is being able to show somebody, hey, if I go take action, if I go do A and B, and I have C as a result, C being that passive income, whether it's go buy a rental property or go flip land. But if I can go take action and create just a little bit of income monthly that's passive that I don't have to earn it, it almost kind of turns a light bulb on for them.
Right.
And again, right, you're talking about this idea of kind of controlling our destiny or controlling outcomes. Man, you'll see that light switch for somebody and they're off and running, right? And so now as they approach retirement or just this idea of, hey, I want to relax, they've already built this income stream up.
Mm.
And it's a completely different perspective and persona that people carry in those two situations. And I wish I had video of it in my office when I go through these conversations. I wish I could communicate that to people better than what I do, is because it is night and day from those two scenarios, from what we do versus kind of traditional planning. And so, man, I felt led to share that with you. I hope the audience hears that message. But again, man, what you're telling us today is the ability to kind of take control of your future and create outcomes. Man, that's exactly what we're saying. And so there's a lot of overlap there.
So good. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Go make it a fantastic day.
Take care.
If you like this video, I know you're like this one. And if you want to learn how investors use infinite banking to increase their returns and lower their taxes, check this out. And if you have some questions and want to see if infinite banking is for you, hop on a discovery call with us. Link for that will be in the description.